Hello everyone, May or Mega Man 6 Isis here,
Oh, hi there. And this is Mike with All Things Lost.
and welcome to the first episode of the r/Lost Media official series. Today, we're going to be going over the lost media of the Metroid franchise, and we also have a special guest, the YouTuber AllThingsLost. Now, over to you, Mike.
Metroid II Return of Samus was the second game in the Metroid series released on the original Game Boy in 1991. Though the game is a classic, it's often overlooked, being sort of the middle child between the original NES game that kicked off the series and the absolutely unforgettable Super Metroid. Even though Metroid 2 introduced a ton of new features that would become staples of the franchise, it was criticized at the time for its graphics, something that might have been amended in its rumored Game Boy Color version, given the name Metroid 2 Return of Samus DX by fans. This fabled color version comes from an April 1998 edition of Club Nintendo, the official Nintendo magazine of Germany. The article doesn't mention the game by name, but rather shows a single image superimposed on a Game Boy Color. This has led to both speculation and debate that a color version of Metroid 2 was in development, though never officially commented on or announced by Nintendo. The screenshot becomes all the more tantalizing when you realize it's not from an area in the actual game, meaning if it is real, it was a new area made especially for the console, like how the Game Boy Color version of Link's Awakening had additional content to show off the console's color capabilities. It seems unlikely that a magazine would go through all the time and effort to make an entirely new area and color it just for a single screenshot that isn't even mentioned in the article. I'm no Nintendo insider, but I would think an official Nintendo magazine would be privy to artwork for upcoming games and there'd be no need to make their own mock-ups. One possible explanation is since the magazine came out in April, it could be a subtle April Fool's joke, but it would have to be one of the most subtle April Fool's jokes I've ever seen in 90s gaming culture. The screenshot doesn't have any glaring red flags that it's a mock-up, but if there are any Metroid or 2D game art experts in the audience, we would love to hear your take on the image. Luckily, not all is lost. There have since been color hacks of Metroid 2 that allow you to play the game as Club Nintendo hinted at over 20 years ago.
This piece of lost media is only really unsubstantiated rumors, so I'm not going to go super into it, but there have been some rumors that a Metroid game for Nintendo 64 was in early development, but it never really got far off the ground. Samus's only official appearance on the system was in the 1999 crossover fighting game classic Super Smash Bros. Yoshio Sakamoto said that Nintendo offered another company the opportunity to make Metroid 64, but they turned them down. He said that he would have been interested in making the game himself, but when he held the N64 controller, he could just not find out how to make it work with Metroid. And that's probably a good thing too, seeing how Castlevania 64 turned out.
Following 1994's groundbreaking Super Metroid that along with Castlevania Symphony of the Night basically created the Metroidvania genre, Nintendo took a long break from the series before coming back strong in 2002 with the simultaneous release of Metroid Prime and Metroid Fusion. Metroid Fusion was released on the Game Boy Advance but almost ended up on the Game Boy Color, looking and playing very differently than the final product. Not much is known about this early Game Boy Color version outside of a handful of screenshots, but a fantastic article by Unseen64 that will be linked in the description covers betas and prototypes from the Game Boy Advance version that feature completely reworked graphics, removed abilities like walking up walls and on the ceilings, different enemy designs, unused music, and other differences that give us a glimpse into the creative process at Nintendo.
Metroid Dread is likely the most well-known piece of Metroid lost media. Metroid Dread, or, as it's sometimes known, Metroid Project Dread, was listed in an internal document with, quote, key DS games to be announced in the future, with every game on that list eventually releasing except Metroid Dread. The game later resurfaced in the British official Nintendo magazine, listed with the release date of November 2006, with the later issue revising that release date to just a vague 2006. Needless to say, 2006 passed with no official release. It was rumored that 2007's Metroid Prime 3 actually made a reference to Metroid Dread, because if you use Samus's scan visor at a specific point in the game, you can see the line, Experiment Status Report Update. Metroid Project Dread is nearing the final stages of completion, which could be a reference to Metroid Dread being almost complete at that point, although various developers have referred to this as a joke or just a coincidence. It is also worth noting that this was changed in a later Japanese release to make reference to a Dread-class turret. In a later interview, Metroid series director Yoshio Sakamoto confirmed that Dread had, in fact, existed, but that if Nintendo were to ever pick up the project again, they would just restart it all from scratch. In another interview, Sakamoto confirmed that 2010's Other M, nor 2017's Samus Returns were Metroid Dread. Unseen64 discovered that the game kicked into prototype development in 2006, with some Nintendo of America staff even seeing a behind-the-scenes demo at E3 2009. It was noted that the game, quote, literally looked like a port of Fusion on DS, due to its supposed similar art style and graphics. Interestingly enough, at Nintendo's E3 2021, Metroid Dread was finally announced for an October of 2021 release, marking the first new entry in the dormant series since Metroid Prime 3, and the first entry in the 2D series since 2002, 19 years before Dread's announcement. According to Yoshio Sakamoto, the new entry is not just in name either, as it takes some of what was in the original concept and brings it over into this new project. It is incredibly interesting that they chose to revive this project of all projects, and hopefully we'll find out more about what once was in the future.
Thanks for having me. This is Mike with All Things Lost. See you soon.
And thank you, Mike, for being on the show. More content like this is to come, so if you enjoyed today's video, please drop a like and subscribe, and check out our other content at the end card. Also, you should check out Mike's channel, All Things Lost, which will be linked in the description, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.